Okay, today I wanted to offer some reflections about emotional intelligence and 5 reasons why emotional intelligence is important for leaders. Okay, so I've been really enjoying reading Daniel Goleman's book, Emotional Intelligence, recently, and also just kind of going into a few different books, Leadership Challenge, Kouzes and Posner, and also Jim Collins, his book Beyond Entrepreneurship. And these are basically seen as the leading books from the last 20, 30 years about leadership. And as I was reading last night, Kouzes and Posner was talking about the importance of emotions. Jim Collins is talking about intuition. So I want to really link in just how it's changing. We were very much command and control leadership in the past. So no emotion, you do as I tell you to do. It's like very much boom, demanding, controlling. And how we're moving to is more emotional intelligence in leadership. So we're able to have empathy, we're able to relate to people. We see that, it's leadership is about relationships, and it's about being able to connect to our emotions and the emotions of others, to engage them. So I'm just going to kind of lead through why I feel, and according to these researchers, why it's really important for great leadership. So whether you're listening to this, you're in a relationship, or you have children, your work, realize that we're all leaders. It's not just those who are in positions of power and authority, but actually all of us can be leaders, and we can start to cultivate this emotional intelligence. So the first reason for that EQ is important is to do with, if we don't have emotional information, as the research by Professor Antonio Damasio pointed out, then we cannot make good decisions. It's almost like, and I've mentioned this many times in my videos before, but if we don't have empathy, if we don't think, if I make this decision, this will impact these people, if I can't feel how that's going to impact them, there's going to be a disconnect, and I'm not going to have all the information. Yes, when we're making decisions, and I'll come back to this later, we don't always have, we have as much information as we can gather, then we need to decide. But here, I think we really need to see that emotions, that helps us to make good decisions. That's the first thing, is why it's really important for leaders, is we need to have emotions to make good decisions. Number one. Number two is vision. So Kouzes and Posner in the Leadership Challenge, they talk about how, first thing, they give 5 practices for exemplary leadership. The first one is to model the way. Second one is to inspire a shared vision. Now, as I was reading last night, they talk about how in order for us to work out what our vision is, we have to go within. And I'll read you a little passage from that piece. Is and they're talking about how we work out that vision, and you need to ask questions. And he says the answers to these questions don't come easy, and finding your vision, like finding your voice, is a process of self-exploration and self-creation. It's an intuitive, emotional process. What we've seen is that exemplary leaders have a passion for their projects, their causes, their programs, their subject matter, something other than their own fame and fortune. Your inner passion is an indicator of what you feel most deeply about and find worthwhile in and of itself. So it's that ability to be passionate, to, what do I feel? Oh yeah, I'm inspired by that. So if we've squashed our emotions down, we've dissociated, then it's going to be very difficult for us to be able to do that, to have a strong vision, to work out what our vision is. And sometimes it takes time, but what they're saying is we've got to go in. To be a great leader, we have to connect to our emotions. So the third thing is to do with love. And the last page of their book, Kouzes and Posner, they say that love is the secret ingredient of great leadership. And obviously, if you're not emotionally intelligent, you're not connected to love, what you love, what you know, whether towards others, for yourself, then you're not going to be an exemplary leader. You could be a command and control, but that's starting to move away. We're starting to move into a position and a place of emotional intelligence. So I think that's really key, is what do I love? How do I cultivate love? Whether that is doing things you love, whether it's being in appreciation, connecting to gratitude, it's cultivating these things. And when we do, we become more emotionally intelligent. And then, yeah, and I'll read you a little passage again from Kouzes and Posner, just at the back. Of all the things that sustain a leader over time, love is the most lasting. It's hard to imagine leaders getting up day after day, putting in the long hours and hard work it takes to get extraordinary things done without having their hearts in it. The best kept secret of a successful leadership is love. Staying in love with leading, with the people who do the work, with what the organizations provide, and with those who honor the organization by using its products and services. Leadership is not an affair of the head. Leadership is an affair of the heart. So, that's for me really key why emotional intelligence is important for leaders. It's an affair of the heart. It's not an affair of the head. And this is so important for us to cultivate that love, that passion. And so if we think I'm just going to be heady, it's just one part of the brain. You've got that left side of the brain, the very analytical. We want to also connect to the more intuitive right side of the brain as well. That's the third reason. So the fourth reason is just to do with relationships. Why it's important is, again, as Kouzes and Posner say that leadership is a relationship. And therefore, we need to be able to cultivate relationships. And again, if I go back to reading what they say, leadership as we define it is the art of mobilizing others to want to struggle for shared aspirations. Leadership is a relationship between those who aspire to lead and those who choose to follow. So when we're in that position of leadership, we've got to have empathy. We've got to be connected to our emotions, but the emotions of others. And often if we've had a childhood where we become avoidant attachment, meaning we push intimacy relationships away, and that's something which comes from boarding school, you're going to struggle to want to engage in relationships. And yet leadership is all about relationships. So this is the fourth reason why emotional intelligence is important for leaders. And the fifth reason is just to inspire others, really. We inspire others through our actions, through what we say and do. And it's to do with emotional information. It's like when we connect to our emotions. Now, it's page 150 on the book. In order to really engage others, we've got to connect to the emotions. They say emotions also make things more memorable because leaders want constituents to remember their messages. You need to be adding more emotional content to your words and actions. In addition, emotionally significant events have been shown to create the strongest and longest lasting memories. So when we're trying to inspire others, it's like we've got to be engaged, we've got to be inspired, we've got to be charismatic. If we're not connected to our emotions, if it's just in that, do as we say, people aren't engaged. And I think that's the big shift from this command and control to emotionally intelligent. I mean, an extra reason as well is to do with decision making. We have to be able to connect it to our emotions, and both Jim Collins, but also there's a passage here in Richard Branson's book as well, just talking about emotions. Engage your emotions at work. Your instincts and emotions are there to help you. They are there to make things easier. For me, business is a gut feeling. And if it ever ceased to be so, I think I would give it up tomorrow. By gut feeling, I mean I believe that I've developed a natural aptitude tempered by huge amounts of experience that tend to point me in the right direction rather than the wrong one. As a result, it also gives me the confidence to make better decisions. So yeah, just some ideas there about leadership is that for those of us who dismiss, and I certainly dismissed emotional intelligence for many years, now it's like, oh, actually, no, what am I feeling? And if people are interested, I'll do a video about emotional intelligence, about how we develop it. But essentially, it's stopping, being still, being in nature, being alone. Jim Collins says again, it's like we've got to have time every day to go within. What am I feeling about this? Because one of our roles as leaders is to have vision, to see the big picture, but we can't see the big picture if we're not taking time to go within. So I think this is key, making sure you have that downtime, that time to go within and reflect. So yeah, so thank you so much for listening. Please do comment below if this resonates or not. I've got a podcast going live this Friday with a writer of the Lost Boys of Dilworth, about a boarding school in New Zealand, and then I've got another podcast next week going out about basically men's work, about men's mental health, talking with a psychotherapist, American, who runs men's circles there. So I'm off tomorrow to Joy Schaverien funeral, which is happening on Friday, and yeah, just have a busy few weeks. So yeah, I hope that you enjoy and hope this is helpful. Please do comment below. Okay, take care.